Hey, it's Jeff, 650 Cycle. Yesterday I did a ride video on this little gem, and it doesn't run so very well. So need to go through the carburetors, and there were some other things that need fixed on it that just need finished up. And that's what I've been working on today. I kind of got ahead of myself and didn't start filming right away. So I'm going to go through what I've done already. If we look right here, we have a horn, and listen to this. The button's a little sticky, but we've got a horn. It's actually a horn off of a GL 1100 of this same era, an 81 probably. Now the speedometer cable I have, I was thinking that I could take a different mechanical drive for the hub and run a different cable, and it wasn't going to work out that way. The other cable is different. It's a four-sided squared off drive, and this one has actually a slotted drive on it. So I couldn't use that cable, I couldn't use that drive. So what I did was I took the cable I had, and this is where you will see that I'm not a professional. I just zip tied it on here. I put a zip tie around here and here and hooked it together so that it'll stay in place as a temporary fix, obviously, until I figure out what happened. This particular thing right here does not fit on there on either one of my drives. I have a drive from an 80 and an 81. Doesn't fit, and that's what I ordered the cable for. The internal works, but the external doesn't. So got that, got the horn hooked up. So the only other thing I have to work on right now is getting my brake lights to work. I need to run this wire. This is a different style. It originally had this style plug on it for that. And then down here, what I have, turn the key on, is you can see how far it travels before it actually starts pulling the brake light, before it actually starts pulling that switch. Right about there is where it comes on, and that's like at the bottom end of it. If we look, it's right there, and look how far down I am. So I need to either find a different spring or modify this one so that it actually pulls it at a earlier point in this travel. Along with that, I'm going to take this tank off and drain the fuel that's in it and see if there's like rust buildup in the fuel. I will filter it when I drain it and see what's going on with that, because my belief at this point is that the reason that it stalled on me yesterday, 1.5 miles from home, and then restarted was that I have an inline filter, and it either got plugged or it stopped flowing out of the tank itself at that point because there was some rust buildup on it. Wasn't flowing enough fuel. That's my belief. So, and knowing that this tank had a lot of rust in it, I need to determine if this is actually fixed or repaired enough. And then again, pulling these carbs off, I will probably order a carb kit for them, and at some point figure out how to put that in there and what needs done and how all of that works. So for today though, we're just not going this far, but we're going to get up to that point. Obviously I got 2 of the things done. Speedo's temporary fixed, horns on. I need to run this brake light and this brake light so that it works better, pull the tank and see what the fuel looks like. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm going to be working on at this point. So, well, I pulled the tank off and I'm letting it drain, and what I'm seeing I actually like. The fluid coming out of here is clear, which means that the rust hasn't mixed in with the gasoline and turned it to a rusty color. What I'm seeing at the bottom as I filter it out looks pretty clean yet. So I'm thinking that this is a good thing. Once I get it drained, I'll pull the petcock off and look at the filter tube on there, see what that looks like. I'm sure there's still some rust in there, but honestly, it doesn't look bad at this point. Over here, my filter, don't know how much of it you can see on film, but it really doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look plugged up or anything. I think I'm going to pull it apart just to look at it and see what's going on. I had a little bit of discolored fluid come out of it, or discolored fuel come out of it when I pulled it off. It looked a little orangey, which is rust mixing in with the fuel. So probably why it was part of why it was running like crap yesterday. So I'm working on that. What I have taken here is I save old wiring harnesses when I pull bikes apart for this very reason, because I'm going to take these two, plug them up there, and I'm going to take these two and hook them on to the harness here where they need to be hooked on, and then join the wires together somewhere in the middle, and that will be my wiring for this master, and it will power the rear brake lights. This master, if I'm not mistaken, is off of a Kawasaki LTD440 because I happen to have it laying around. The two that I had from the 80 and the 81, I think it was the 81. The two 440s that I had, the master was garbage on both of them, so pulled another Kawasaki anyways. And driving it yesterday, it worked fine. I didn't have any issue with how it was functioning. It just isn't turning the brake lights on. So that's what all of this is going to be. So I know where this needs to go. I'll hook it up, make sure it works, solder it all together, route it and all that. And then everything but the carburetors is done. And again, it looks pretty good coming out of the tank. Pretty happy considering the amount of rust that I did pull out of that tank. All I did was vinegar treatment, which I poured vinegar into the tank and let it sit, and I got a lot of rust out of it that way. But looking at this, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot coming out. Again, once all the fuel's out of it, pull the petcock, look at the screen, see what's going on. I don't know if you can see it really, the surface there doesn't look bad. It was down apparently on the sides that it's bad. So working on all of that, getting that all hooked up together. And so I'm going to keep working on that. So here's why I filtered it out. As I was draining it, you can see the debris that's in there, and you can see this was down at the bottom of the filter, or at the bottom of the funnel, and then all of the debris that was coming out of it. So that tank is not perfectly clear yet, and I may do a fuel flush like this again, just because I want to get that flushed out. Coming over here, if I look at this petcock screen right up in here, you can see a little bit of fuel, but overall not bad. And of course it's covered with gas. Looking down in there, it looks okay. So yes, the tank has debris in it and it needs cleaned out. So again, I'm probably going to do another fuel flush where I put that fuel back in, drain it out, strain it out, just to try to get some more of that debris. When I did the vinegar flush, I put the vinegar in, let it set a couple days, and then drained it out. And when I drained it out, there was a lot of big chunks. Not this type of stuff, but big chunks. And then I rinsed it with using water, and then I took and sprayed like WD-40 in there, and I also put some two-stroke oil in there and kind of splashed it around to kind of help coat things. The WD-40 will hopefully help with the water, but letting it set and everything. But I do want to run the fuel through here again, through this particular tank again, and do this filter again, just to use fuel running through there instead of something else like water or whatever else, and hopefully that will help. I also have this much done so far. I have these hooked in to the wiring harness, and this hooked up, well, kind of up here. So now I got to route it and figure out where I'm going to plug it in. And honestly, probably the easiest thing, looking at it, it's crimped up here, my heat shield, so I'll probably cut it, pull the heat shield, slide it up over this, and hook it right in here, because that's about the right length, and then it plugs right in right there, and it's color coded that way, and in the future you can kind of see what it is. So we'll get working on that. Still working on this tank, trying to get that part of this all wrapped up. Probably I'm going to be gone for a week in a couple days, so I don't want to pull this apart and have it sitting out apart while I'm gone, just because I don't want to come back to a mess. So I'm not going to get too far into it today, but we're going to get into some of it. So continuing on. All right, we're getting there. It's dried out a little bit. You can see a little bit of rust there compared with the rust that came out of it initially. So I'm going to do this again until I have even less of that. Flush this tank out again. Hopefully I get less and less and less of it, and that'll be working. Now over here, rear brake light. The bad thing is that this in its resting state is right there, which is off of the trigger. So when it's resting, it's on. So it works, but I have to figure out how to make that so that it closes that and then opens it once you start applying the brakes. So that part is done. I have it wired, soldered up, routed. I'm going to move on to this here in a moment. The other thing is that this keeps wanting to pop off, so I need to do a little bit of work on that. But we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, I think I'm wrapping things up on the LTD440 today. Let's take a look at where we started and where we're at. This was my first siphon filter, second, third, fourth. These haven't dried yet like this has. But as you can see, I'm still getting chunks, but it's getting less and less. So I'm going to continue doing this for a little while. I'm going to continue doing it mainly because I smell like gas right now because it's all over my hands and stuff. So I'm going to do it until I feel like I've got a good portion of that rust out of there. It's better for me to pull it out like this than to let it try to run through the carburetors and the fuel system. Back to this, I have the speedometer cable attached and secured temporarily until I figure out something else. I also have a horn. I'm going to work on this button a little bit. It's a little sticky. Don't want it too sticky. I have a front. If you look back there, you can kind of see the back brake light come on. Have that working. I have the brake light on the foot working. So again, until I get a better system figured out up here, I just put a hose clamp around this to kind of fill the gap in up there on that release. Is it great? Is it perfect? No. Does it work? Sure. This particular wire, the connector is not that great, so it's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on once I start riding it, making sure that it doesn't come unattached from the switch itself. And then down here I just bent this, and I'll probably bend it so it's a little secure. I just put it on there so that when I'm right about there, the light comes on, which is much higher up in the travel area. So everything on the bike is functioning well. I don't know about the speedometer, but the cable's hooked up, the horn works, the front brake light switch is activating, the rear brake switch is activating. So all those little things that I was kind of not getting done on this are done. It comes down right now to that gas tank and how clean I can get that, doing what I'm doing with it, and what I can get done with the carburetors here. Again, I'm probably not going to do any more with this for a little bit, a week or so. I'll get back into it, but I wanted to do some work on it today and get it to a certain point, and this is where I wanted to get it. The carburetors, I think I'm going to order a carb kit for it. That way the next time I pull them off, I've got some better things to do with it to put it back on and try to get it so that it's running better. And the rest of today, a couple more times of flushing that tank out with the fuel. I don't know if I'm going to use that fuel in this bike, but I'm going to use it somewhere, so I'll probably go through the truck or something, and then I'll probably get fresh gas for this just to have the fresh gas. So that's where I'm at today, and like I said before, I'm no professional. I'm just a guy trying to make motorcycles happen, and I enjoy working on motorcycles, and I enjoy riding them, and that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to revive this bike to the point of being able to ride it, because I want to commute on this bike this fall and eventually sell it, but it needs to have things working on it. So I got it working to the point of everything on it except the carburetor is working to the point of being able to commute. And then I will probably work on some of those things like a speedometer cable and the front brake handle and things like that to make them better. So I'm going to sign off for today. That's where I'm at. Hopefully the next time I do a video for the KZ440, it's going to be a ride video of me riding it and everything on it functions. That would be really super cool. I would really love that. So until next time, ride safe.